I was suffering a lot. If I'm honest with myself and when I look back, I was in a lot of pain. The lowest moment is when things can change. And when you're suffering, it's a great opportunity for change. And that's where I was. I was at that place and I knew that from there, if this felt like the lowest, then the only place I could go from here was up. And so that shift just started there. I started to really reevaluate my life. Working with a health coach myself was a huge turning point. I had to start putting myself first because before I was putting everybody else first. I was putting my business first. I was putting my clients first. I was putting my family first. And then maybe there was time for me, but a lot of times it wasn't, which is why, again, I would just eat whatever, soothe with food and all of that. But it's like I can no longer do that because if I'm not going to be well, then there's no way that I'm going to be able to help you feel better. It has to start with me.
All right, welcome to the Fit Vegan Podcast. I'm your show host, Maxime Sigouin, and I'm the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, a company that is on a mission to help 10,000 people get lean, thrive, and reduce their risk of chronic illnesses by 2033 and 1 million by 2050. I believe that having a fit, healthy body and mind is the foundation to living an incredible life, and this is what the show will give you if you choose to listen and implement. Enjoy the episode and have a great day. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Shauné Hayes, who is a certified coach from Dr. Seel's Wellness Institute, a certified plant-based nutrition from the Center of Nutrition Studies, and licensed food and life instructor through PCRM. You've also lost over 100 pounds, and you use some of the tools from Dr. Barnard in his latest book. So, Shauné, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I was very excited to dive into your story because ultimately, what's the total amount that you ended up losing?
Yep. So the total amount is 100 pounds and I'm still maintaining it. And I'd say, hey, if I'm able to get off, a few more pounds, I'll take that. But 100 pounds.
Beautiful. So I want to dive into your journey. I want to dive into kind of like before and kind of like your mindset where you were at. Because I feel that online, a lot of people here like, yeah, I lost 100 pounds. It's great. And I ate plants. But I feel like there's so much more to the struggle of the journey to get there that sometimes when we drop these pieces of nugget that you've kind of have acquired through your transformation can really turn on a light bulb for certain people and be like, shit, that's Shauné. When she said that really resonated with me.
I agree. I totally agree. Definitely was not overnight, so it has been a journey.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, like, let's just get started from the beginning. Like, what do you feel got you to the place where you had 100 pounds to lose before we dive into the strategies?
Well, I would definitely go back to childhood. My story begins when I was 12 years old. And, as a child, I was overweight. I was, struggling very early on, trying to lose weight, trying to be healthy, very much aware of my weight and my size at that young age. And I would, join my first weight loss program at the age of 12. And so, this really set off this, what I call a roller coaster ride, if you will, of yo-yo dieting. And so for like the next 3 decades, that's exactly what I did. I would try any and every diet that I could, that would hit the market, that promised to lose weight. I would try it because I was desperate and I just really did not know, how to get the weight off. And so that's where my, journey begins. But the yo-yo dieting is really where the bulk of that, weight started to come from because yes, I would lose, but then I would gain the weight back. And so it was never sustainable. So just over the years, that the pounds just kept creeping up.
Yeah. So by asking, do you have a family?
I do. Kids? I do. I have 3 kids.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this question. So do you feel that your environment growing up kind of puts you in that initial position? Because I just want to show the importance that as a parent, like the role and responsibility that you have to create a healthy environment for your kids. So like for you, did that play a role in you kind of struggling with your weight that early on?
Absolutely. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and I have to say go Chiefs because we just won the Super Bowl. So I was like just partying like crazy yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was from Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City is definitely known for barbecue and all of those rich foods, and that is a lot of what I grew up on, a lot of what we consider to be the kind of standard American diet foods. And so that was lots of meat, lots of cheese, dairy, eggs, white bread. I did not even know what, wheat bread or whole grain or any of that was. And so I would definitely say that just kind of growing up then, there was fruits and vegetables in the house and things of that nature, and we had those things, but it was still very much a lot of processed foods, that I grew up eating.
Yeah. And so would you say that as you kind of progressed, was it continuing to eat in a very similar way, or was it literally from trying to lose the weight and depriving yourself and kind of going back on the flip side after that? That's kind of where the majority of the weight accumulated?
Yes, I would definitely agree with what you just said. It was very much, trying to, do what I thought was great, but it very much became about deprivation. It very much became eating. Very much became this regimented thing, and
Yeah.
I just, I think it set me up more so for having the missteps and having the setbacks than it did for success, because I just, like calorie counted to the extreme, weight food, just all of these little things, which I don't knock them as tools and strategies, but I became a little obsessed with it to where it just became more. I think it hurt me more than it helped me.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, like, what are some of the things that you've kind of, some of the tools that you've used that ultimately we both know that aren't sustainable, but what are some of the strategies that you've tried along the way, just so that people can hear like, hey, if you're if you're stuck here, there's a better way, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Right. So, I mean, I would say, I definitely much tried the, tracking my food. And of course, this was back when we really didn't have all the apps that are just so readily
Pen
available.
and paper.
Pen and paper. Yes, pen and
Yeah.
paper. So very much tracking the food. I had a, food scale that I would use. And again, I don't knock these tools. I think they definitely play a role and have a place. I was, just the weight loss program that I joined, I had to like check out these little boxes, like how much water did you have today? How many servings of this? How many servings of that? So it's very tedious, and
Yeah.
so again, I think technology has made it a lot more. I think user friendly and just a little easier. But those are some of the strategies that I tried back then. But because I was doing it so much, and again going from diet to diet to diet, I just eventually got even tired of those strategies. I was just like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the I say this. I would like to know, because I'll probably never experience it, to be 100 pounds overweight. Like, I'm 190 pounds. I used to be 240. So
Okay.
I've been, I've had some chunk on me a little bit, but so I'd like to know, like, was there a point where you're like, man, this is getting out of hand and I really need to stop this? And did it lead to actions that would kind of further where you were at, or did it lead to more drastic actions and like, no, I need to eat less, I need to exercise even more? Kind of, what was the path like?
Gotcha. So definitely I've been in that place where, I have to exercise more, I have to eat less. I was restricting calories like at one point on a particular plan, just like really extreme in terms of restricting calories. As a matter of fact, before I got married, I it was my desire and goal and dream to get married in my mom's wedding dress. And
Hmm.
so, I had to lose weight to get into that dress. And so I lost, I think at that time, maybe 60 pounds. This was, I've been married 20, almost 22 years. So this has been a while, but I lost 60 pounds and, got married in her dress. But it was very much about calorie restriction and just working out a lot. And so as soon as I got married and moved and settled in, what happened? The weight started to come
Yeah.
back because there were no habits built into place. It was just get in the mom's wedding dress and that's that. So I would say the shift didn't come for me until I had a health scare. Actually, that was kind of like my wake up call.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, because usually that's what it takes, right? Because I've had some family members, some people around me that like have kept putting on weight. I'm like, man, like I feel like the wake up call should be there right now, right? Like, you don't look comfortable, you don't look super happy. I feel like it's painful enough. Like, how can it get more painful?
Ah,
So, what was it for you? Because I can imagine that you've probably dealt with a lot of pain and discomfort even up until you got to that point.
yes, that is so powerful what you just said because it's like there was lots of pain, lots of discomfort. With me being, having the type of job where I work on my feet a lot, you're looking at 278 pounds that I'm carrying on my muscles and my joints, and just the pain from that. And, of course, just the other illnesses and or chronic illnesses that I was dealing with. So, yes, it was a lot of that. And it's like, why does it take this health scare? But, I say unfortunately, but fortunately, it was a wake up call. And, when I had that particular incident, it was very much having to go to the emergency room. And once I was diagnosed and realized it was just a very severe case of bursitis in my shoulder, which I could not move when I woke up. I'm a full time makeup artist, and so I need to be able to move my arms and stuff, right? And
I
so
saw that you did make up for Conan.
yeah, I
I
did.
saw that. Yeah, I peaked a little bit.
Yes, exactly. And so when I realized that this weight, my weight and my health was now starting to affect my livelihood in terms of my job, it was like, okay, I just, I got to make some changes, and I have to do it in a way where I'm doing it for the rest of my life.
Did your brain normalize it as the weight was creeping on and you got to that pivotal moment? Did your brain normalize the pain and kind of the discomfort and kind of the things that it was limiting?
I think it did. I really, food became the thing that I would, soothe myself with, and that I would be like, okay, in my mind, I'm like, I know that I have to get healthier. You have these conversations with yourself, like, Shauné, you got to eat healthier, you got to exercise more, you got to do all the things. But it just, like you said, the brain just kind of normalizes. It was just like, yeah, I want to do that, but this food tastes great, and this is soothing me, and this is comforting me.
Yeah, and I know you do coaching, so I can imagine that you have this conversation with like potential clients all the time. It's like, hey, I'm uncomfortable. I'd like to lose some weight, but I'm dealing with it,
I'm
right? And
dealing
it's
with it,
it's
right?
it's the dealing with it that is like the limiting factor in people taking action.
Absolutely. So, I would, tell myself, well, I got in 3, days of working out. That's great. But then again, it wasn't this thing that became consistent. It wasn't something where I was building habits that would, help me to kind of be sustainable and have these good, sustainable habits over time. It was just very much try this, try that. It was the consistency just wasn't there. I was all over the place.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like after you kind of got that wake up moment, what what do you feel shifted in you? That was like, nah, I need to do things differently now.
I would say that it was one of the lowest moments, I'm sorry, of my life. I definitely had, hit this low personally and professionally, and I was suffering a lot. If I'm honest with myself, and when I look back, I was in a lot of pain. I was, using medication. That was another thing that was helping me deal and manage these conditions. And so it
Mm.
was a very low moment in my life. And I always say the lowest moment is when things can change, and when you're suffering, it's a great opportunity for change. And that's where I was. I was at that place, and I knew that from there, if this felt like the lowest, then the only place I could go from here was up. And so that shift just started there. I started to really reevaluate my life. Working with a health coach myself was a huge turning point.
Yeah. So what were some of the initial actions that you took in terms of nutrition to kind of like clean it up and then exercise?
Definitely. So what I started to do, just me and a friend got together one day, right, and we're just like, let's just start walking together. Let's just have some green smoothies and just do like 2 smoothies a day, and then eat something healthy. It was very much this just let's just do something because it's summertime and we got extra time on our hands, and so that kind of started things along. But when I
Mm.
started working with this health coach, it very much became, let's look at what my relationship with food has been over these years, and why it became the thing that I allowed to hurt me more than help me, right? So just redefining, my relationship with food, really just kind of going back to childhood, going back to that 12-year-old, child, and saying, what was it there that caused the hurt, that, food became this soothing thing. And so really having, what I say, to do the work, and, having conversations even with people from years ago that hurt me, and that, or even that said things. So I would say those are some of the initial things that I started to work on from an inside perspective. And then nutritionally, it just very much became like I just started eating more fruits and vegetables. Like this particular coach was just really teaching me and showing me, let's look at foods that actually can heal your body, that can help you. And yeah, so that those are some of the initial things that started the journey.
Yeah. That makes me, I had such a big smile inside as you were sharing that, because man, I can't tell you how many people that are like, nah, just give me the plan and I'll do it. I'm like, you're like in a not in a bad way, but like you have some damage inside that you
Yes.
need to heal. Like there's shit that you need to address,
Yes.
because I can give you 100 different plans. You still won't do any of the 100 different plans because you haven't dealt with the underlying issue.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you just said something so powerful. And that's absolutely what I realized. Like, this process has to start from the inside. There were things that
Yeah.
I, just over the years had built up and held on to, and I didn't realize it was part of the reason why I had never found success in getting healthy and losing weight. So, absolutely, Maxim, I agree.
Yeah, because man, I gotta say, like when I was 240, I had like binge eating issues. I was eating boxes of donuts and cookies, and
Yes.
I was going all out. I was on the whole diet. I
Yeah.
ate the whole thing, the whole cake, the whole
Yes.
pizza, the whole pint. Yeah, I just
Absolutely.
I just ate everything. But it wasn't until I was like, man, like I'm really insecure. I lack confidence, right? I was bullied growing up. I was like, man, let me just like look into this shit. And
Yes.
then once I started healing this stuff, I was like, well, I don't want to like beat myself up anymore, right? Like I actually
Exactly.
want to eat food that makes me feel good versus trying to numb me.
Yes.
Um,
Uh, I can relate to all of that because I'm like, you are down my street, like the low self esteem, the insecurity issues, the low confidence, all of that. You are down my street.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that as well, because that's what I want people to understand. It's like, yeah, it's one thing to be like, yeah, I'm gonna eat whole food plant based and I'm gonna start an exercise plan. But at least from what I saw from you is like when you had that scare and you kind of started to change, you didn't go into like, hey, what's the best workout plan? What's the best meal plan? You just like ease your way into it. And then it kind of became sustainable for you.
Absolutely. Yes. Because when, thinking about how I was doing it before, it was very much give me the meal plans, give me this, what do I need to do? Give me the checklist, I'll do it. I had done all of that. And so this is why
Yeah.
I knew I have to do this differently now because I've tried all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very much, we're very much doers and action takers. So
Yes.
it's like, hey, just tell me the thing that I need to do and I will do the thing. But at the
Yes.
end of the day, it's like, now sit your ass down, reflect as to why you're here. Like what's the best path you can take moving forward? It's not
Yes.
about doing all the
Right.
time.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's very much when I work with clients, that's where we have to start. Like, I can give you, like you said, all the meal plans in the world, but we have to dig deeper here.
Yeah. And so for you, when did you kind of, was it like a slow buildup of exercise and kind of combining food? Or was it like, hey, let's just start with food and exercise will come later? What was that kind of that blend for you?
It was actually the exercise came first because during this, again, I was, very low moment in my life and I started walking. I just, was outside walking, fell in love with the outdoors, with nature. And it just really became this healing thing for me as well. And so for me, it just started with walking. And then I gradually started to make these nutritional changes because the health scare was in like February. I started the walking and, just kind of the wellness in June. And I didn't start working with the health coach until November. So it was
Mm,
very much just, a gradual thing. So I'm like, okay, I'm moving my body more. I'm starting to walk, adding more miles on as I get, healthier. Now let's address this nutrition piece. And I think that was different this time because in the past it was always let's address the food. It's the food, food,
yeah.
food, food, food. But this time it was the reverse. Food was the last thing. I addressed the other things first.
Yeah, I agree with, because I think there's something to, hey, I just went for a sweat. I just went outdoors. Like my body wants something refreshing, right? Like
Yes.
I want watermelon, I want orange, I want like a smoothie, I want apples, bananas, berries. It's not like, hey, I just went for this hard workout and I'm sweating. Let me just get a pizza,
Right.
right? It's very rare. So the movement is one of the most powerful places to start, definitely.
I agree. Totally agree. And it
Yeah.
ended up being, like I said, so healing for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I obviously know that you're plant based as well, right? And so for the
Yes.
people listening, when did that transition take place amongst the journey that we just covered?
Gotcha. So I started to just kind of gradually transition. So I started the journey 2017 and started to gradually transition between 2017 and 2020. And what I noticed, as I was moving toward eating more plants, is that I was getting healthy. Like the conditions and things that I was, suffering from and dealing with were starting to dissipate. They were going away. And every time I went to the doctor, for a physical and we did blood work and looked at my numbers, those numbers were improving. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, there's something here. Again, I had not really made the connection. I'm like, but there's something here with this food and diet and disease and all of this. And so I started going down this rabbit hole of just learning and wanting to educate myself. And I, after getting my plant-based certification and really, getting this bigger picture and from a knowledge perspective, I was like, you know what? I want to commit to this lifestyle 100%. So
Hmm.
2021 is when I was just like, I'm doing this all the way, So it was gradual up until then, but mostly, whole food plant based. But then 2021 is when I was just like, I'm all in. This is a lifestyle for me.
Yeah. And so I know that there's we had a friend in common, Kim, kind of put us in contact. So I know a lot of the principles that are in Dr. Barnard's new book, The Power Food Diet, were very helpful for you. Do you
Yes.
mind kind of like diving into that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's, it was very much one of those, so, Dr. Barnard's, book is, very much talking about how, these real foods just really have the power to not only help us to lose weight, but then also to help reverse illnesses, to, help to like, satiate our appetites and just, all of these things. And so I was experiencing all of that, but not really, kind of knowing the science or the why this was, but I was starting to
Yeah.
naturally experience that. And so just realizing that, the thing that I was changing, and I tell people all the time, I was simply making diet and lifestyle changes. It wasn't a medication, it wasn't a procedure, it wasn't, something, fancy, if you will. It was just very much these simple lifestyle changes. And so realizing that these power foods, we're talking fruits and vegetables, we're talking your whole grains, your beans and legumes, just, the power that those have. And of course, you can get real specific in terms of why blueberries do what they do and why they're so effective and berries and all of that. But for me, it was just like these real foods are doing something inside of me that that is just blowing my mind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even before, just kind of knowing the specifics, it was like there's something powerful here with just me eating these, what I again call real foods.
Yeah. Is it what I was it more powerful for you to kind of experience it through it yourself and then kind of learn it more intellectually after?
I would say so because, and that's exactly what happened. It was me just, experiencing these changes and then thinking about, what is it that I've really changed? Like, how is it that my blood pressure has gone down? I no longer have, hypertension stage 1. How is it that I no longer have high cholesterol? How is it that I'm no longer pre-diabetic? How is it that I'm no longer suffering from arthritis? And so because I was experiencing these, ailments reversing, I'm like, the only thing I've changed is what I'm eating. And so
Hmm.
that's when I was like, there is something here that I have to know more about. And that's when I started to really, look at the power foods and just, just how powerful they are.
Yeah. And I don't know if I missed it earlier, but what was the entry point to plant based? Was it a book, a conversation, a documentary? Like what was the opening point?
The entry point was a book. Yeah, it was a book. I can share that book if you want me to.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was a book. It was the China study. I
Okay, great.
Yep, I read the China study from front to front to back, and it was just this mind opening. Like, wow, I did not realize just how connected diet and disease was. So that was the opening point.
Yeah, I remember reading that as when they go to the chapter you can turn on and turn off the growth or
Yes,
cancer cells with the amount of protein. I was like,
uh,
oh shit, this is
yes,
mind blowing.
exactly. I was like, oh my god, and I was, reading it to my husband, like, let me read this to you. Let me read this to you. I was just so. It was like, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. Talking about husband, did you manage to convert him over time or slowly? Or
Yeah, so he is mostly. I'm 100%. I'd say my husband's probably like 80%,
yeah,
85%. Then my 3 kids, because again, I just fully committed to this in 2001. They also are mostly plant based, but it's with kids. It's they have so many temptations and things around them that but
yeah,
they
in
are.
school and friend's
Yes,
house and
definitely. But I would say they definitely eat. Probably like 75% plant based. Absolutely.
yeah. And how does it feel for you to have created an environment in your household to help your kids be in a better position ultimately for the future?
It feels amazing because I always tell my kids I really wish I had known when what I know now when I was a kid. I really wish that my parents were knowledgeable like that. Granted, grew up in the 70s, 80s, and so nutrition information has changed over the years. So I don't fault
Yeah, for
them,
sure.
for not knowing that because I just don't think it was known then, like it's known now. And they did the best that they could, but I feel great knowing that I'm giving my kids the best start, and whatever they decide to do as they get older, they can't say that mom didn't let them know. They can't say that mom didn't show us how to eat healthier.
Yeah. So Chris, how many years has it been now that you've lost the weight? It's been a
It's
few
been,
years now.
yeah, it's been, yeah. So 2017 is when I started my journey. I'll say 2020 is when I hit the 100-pound mark. So that's what it'll be
Yeah.
4 years this year.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on 4 years of keeping the
Thank
weight
you.
off. Because let's be honest, that's the part that most people struggle with, right?
Absolutely.
Is losing it. So
Yes.
what do you think? What do you think was different this time than the previous time?
I would say what was different this time is that, um, I didn't do what I had done before in terms of just worrying about a diet or a plan or checklist or counting calories or any of that. I didn't do any of that. I simply, again, just starting to eat this real food, starting to just move more toward the fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, legumes. It was very much this, just this gradual process. Like I started to eat mindfully. I started to think about what I was eating. I really started, and even when it comes to the word diet, this was a major breakthrough for me because I always associated with this regimented plan you have to follow. But I had a moment around that word, and really what diet is, it's how we fuel our body. It's whatever you
Hmm.
choose to fuel your body. So if that's fast food, then that's your diet. If it's, a bunch of, TV dinners or whatever, then that's your diet. And so for me, it was like, I choose to eat these things, and this is my diet. So that was just a big breakthrough for me because diet was always this word that I hated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, you didn't have the best history with it, and I don't think a lot of people have the best history with it. Did you
exactly.
have any breakthroughs around the word cardio yet?
You know what? I do realize with cardio that it is the best for my body in terms of the look, wanting, looking lean and just trim and tone. And so as much as I despise cardio, it makes me feel the best. It's hard, but
Yeah, yeah. I say pick something you like. That's what I tell people all the time. It's like I hate running. I'm like, you don't have to run. You can bike, you can play basketball, soccer, whatever it may be.
absolutely. And that's my thing when I tell my clients, when you think about movement, think about, moving your body, not necessarily exercise, because I think we have hangups around the word exercise, but what is it that gives you joy and that you will do?
Yeah. What is your sustainable plan currently for you that you're doing? Because a lot of people, again, they've done the Atkins and the keto and the tracking and whatever new shit comes out every
Right,
few years on TikTok, even though TikTok wasn't a thing back then.
right.
Um, what is your sustainable, let's say game plan, lifestyle
Gotcha.
currently?
It's just that. It's just realizing that this is not something that I'm going to do for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and then go back to those old habits. It finally is realizing that this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, because I love the way that how I feel. I love how I look. And, realizing that because in the past I would, like I said, want to get married in my mom's wedding dress. So what did I do? Did this diet
Mm,
for however many months, got in it, and now I'm off back to whatever. But it's now realizing that the choices that I'm making are things that I'm doing for the rest of my life so that the quality of my life can continue to improve and get better as I age and get older. And so that's how I'm maintaining this. If I in all honesty, it's realizing that this is just who I am. This is my identity now. And it's
yeah.
just like we wake up every day and brush our teeth. I wake up every day and think, what healthy things can I put in my body?
Yeah. So I was gonna say something about the wedding dress. I thought about doing this at one point, like a promotion
Mhm.
of, just stay wedding dress ready, right? Like lose the weight and actually keep it off. Like
Right,
just stay
right.
wedding dress ready.
Yes.
Every year it's a struggle. It's like, oh man, I gotta squeeze into this thing again. Like buy a burger one and just keep the weight off, It's like
I love that
there's
actually.
yeah, it's simpler. Hey, that's a huge market. I'll just
It
put it out
is.
there.
Right. Like, don't just, the wedding day's here and you're just like, all right, now I can eat whatever. But yeah, stay wedding dress ready. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So how does it feel for you to not feel restricted the way that you were before when you tried to lose weight and to ultimately be able to like live your life to the fullest?
It feels amazing because I just feel like I'm now enjoying, enjoying life better just because I feel better, but also just enjoying food better. Like I said, it was really much this, you know, feeling like I can't have this, I can't have that, and just all of that.
Yeah.
It's like I can have any and everything that I want, but I just choose to do it in a healthier way. So, like when you think about desserts, I can still have desserts, I can have sweets, but I just choose to have those in a different way.
Yeah. Did you ever try the Ninja Creamy machine?
We have a Ninja blender, but no, I don't. I haven't tried that one. What is that exactly?
So it's just to make ice cream, but you
Oh,
can make
really?
it with, yeah. So you can like fruit and almond milk, and it literally is made to make ice cream. My wife just bought it for me for Valentine's Day. I'm not supposed to know about it, but I saw it on Amazon order. But yeah, I'm excited for it.
That's so interesting because I just taught a class the other day. I teach food for life classes, and I made an ice cream, but it was in a
Yeah,
blender. But it
yeah,
took some work just getting everything to incorporate. But now I'm going to have to check out this product you
yeah.
mentioned.
It's literally all it's for. Like I love ice cream, so we can just make your
Right.
own. You can just make your own pint. You do like mango and banana and passion
Yeah,
fruit and coconut chips, whatever you want in there. Anyway, just
exactly.
there's healthier versions to have dessert. Basically, what we're
Oh,
coming to.
absolutely. I'm going to look
Yeah,
into that.
yeah. I'm excited to use it, and I have to wait till Valentine's Day, a few days.
Right.
So one big thing that stands out for me out of your story is, you mentioned how you kind of normalize the pain, right? As you kind of progress along, you kind of normalize, feeling limited, joints hurting, the body aching, and then you mentioned medication as well. That was kind of helping to, in certain way, numb the pain that you were feeling, so that you would feel comfortable living the way that you're living. But ultimately, I feel like it's a disservice, right? To not feel the full extent of the pain that you're causing yourself, which interesting philosophy to life. But I think there's also numbness from the food side, right? Like, I
Absolutely.
don't know for you, but did you notice a better awareness and sensation from kind of cleaning out your food versus what you were eating before?
Oh, absolutely. I just, when I think about just energy levels, when I think about sleeping, and how when I started to move to this healthier lifestyle, move toward this healthier lifestyle, just those things that the sluggishness wasn't there anymore.
Mm.
I would eat certain things and immediately get this, sugar rush and then crash and burn. And I'm like tired and sleepy, um,
Yeah,
and then even just, sleeping, I was, sleeping better at night. And so I started to notice again, like you said, I'm just feeling better overall, overall. I'm not suffering from arthritis and inflammation that was going on in my body, and just kind of seeing those things start to improve. So yeah, amazing.
yeah. So I'm curious, like out of Dr. Barnard's kind of work, what are the tools that were the most helpful for you as you kind of went on this weight loss journey in terms of like knowledge?
Right. I would definitely say just going through the Food for Life training, which is a program by PCRM. Just really understanding it's amazing, but it's also very simple. Just the power that these foods have for us. If I'm honest,
Yeah.
and just really learning, again, like I said, why certain nutrients and certain things do what they do and why they're so effective. And then also just one of the things I love, that Dr. Barnard and them talk about is the fact that, when you're eating this way, you don't have to worry about weighing your food. You don't have to worry about measuring your food. You don't have to worry about, tracking it in that way because you're eating all good things, right? And so it just felt like I could live now. I could finally live and not have this
Yeah.
extra stress. And so those kind of tools and strategies, I absolutely love because it just makes it very simple. Like you don't have to do all of that before. You don't have to do the dieting and all of that. This lifestyle
Yeah.
just gives you a freedom that I just never had before.
Yeah. It's one thing to overeat on Oreos or chip or ice cream. But man, if I give you like apples, like I don't know, after like 2, 3 apples, I'm done with it. Right. Like, I
Yeah.
want to move on to something else. Like it's really hard to overeat on
Right.
fruits and
Oh,
vegetables. Eventually,
absolutely.
like I'm tired of chewing, or I'm like I had enough.
Exactly. Right. And
Yeah.
yeah, another thing too, I would say in terms of just the recipes that Dr. Barnard has kind of helped create and put out there has just made just food fun again and exciting. And yeah, so just like I don't want to have to just eat an apple all the time. What else can I do? Well, here's some apple oat pancakes. Let me show you how to do that. And so yeah,
Oh
amazing.
yeah, I have a nice stack every week of
Yes,
pancakes for sure.
exactly.
Um, So I'd love to dive a bit into, like, obviously you do some coaching, right?
Okay. Hmm.
And I can tell that you're like me, you're a type A overachiever. Um, so actually, before we get into like your coaching and kind of the main concerns that you see people struggling with in the solution, I want to ask you more of a personal question.
Okay.
I'm on my own health journey of chilling out, right?
Okay.
Slow is fast,
Okay.
right? Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast, is the
Okay.
saying.
Hmm.
So as someone that has a heart to serve
Hmm.
and someone that is very much like, hey, I want to help as many people as possible. How do you manage to fit in your health in balance, in kind of balancing rest and achievement and wanting to serve and exercising all that? How do you do that personally?
I do it personally by helping something that's a non-negotiable. I'm not, it's a non-negotiable. I'm not willing to, miss a workout. I mean, sometimes I do, but I'm not willing to, miss moving my body because it's not just a physical thing for me, but it's also very much a mental. It helps with my mental health. When it comes to, just eating certain foods. I want to feel good. I want to have great energy. I'm not willing to eat those things that brought me down and just made me feel like crap.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so even with having a family, being married, and balancing and juggling all of that, I had to start putting myself first, because before I was putting everybody else first. I was putting my business first. I was putting my clients first. I was putting my
Yeah.
family first. And then maybe there was time for me, but a lot of times it wasn't, which is why, again, I would just eat whatever, soothe with food and all of that. But it's like I can no longer do that, because if I'm not going to be well, then there's no way that I'm going to be able to help you feel better. It has to start with me. I have to live what I'm preaching and telling my clients to do. And so, non-negotiable. My health is a non-negotiable.
Yeah. So two things I want to mention. One for the listeners. I've asked this question to a few people that have a lot of success in their life. Same answer, right?
Ah,
Non-negotiables,
yeah.
right? So just notice the pattern of people that
Okay.
have what you want, right?
Yep.
People are saying it. And in a second, like I agree with you so much because I think boundaries are so important, right? Like that non-negotiable is also you setting a boundary with other things in your life. Like, would you say that you setting that boundary to prioritize your health and kind of have that non-negotiable time for you made you a better coach, a better partner, a better parent, a better friend? Would you say that kind of has changed all those areas, even though you're technically spending more time on yourself than you were before?
Absolutely. It made me better in so many areas. It did, just not even, including how I felt. I can now show up a little bit better. I even think
Mm-hmm.
about, with my business and how I would show up for clients. They wouldn't know it, but I would show up not really 100%. I would show up just in
Mm-hmm.
my mind. I'm thinking, oh, I just want to get through this. I want to just go back home. I just want to be done. But it was very
Yeah.
much, I was working on autopilot. I think I was living my life back then on autopilot, just trying to get through. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was, yeah, very much just like I said, just trying to get through those moments and just not really being fully aware and just just cruising along on autopilot, just numb, just feel very much numb.
Yeah. I feel there's something so powerful when you change the way that you eat and you prioritize your health and your body. You're more aware, you're less numb, and
Yes.
just life is just so freaking great. I think
Oh,
that's the best way to
say
put
that
it.
again. Say that again. I agree.
So, let's dive into your coaching. So you have some experience transforming people's lives, and obviously you've gone through your own transformation. So what would you say are some of the most common obstacles, I don't say issues, that obstacles that people have kind of in starting the journey? Because we both know that as soon momentum kicks in, they're good. Like
Oh
they're rolling, they're good to go. But what's the main obstacles that people have in building momentum to themselves so they can get to the place where they're like in your shoes,
yeah.
right? Or it's just rolling and they're able to keep up the lifestyle.
Definitely. I would say a very common obstacle I see with people is that they get overwhelmed very early on, because I think they're trying to do
Hmm.
too much too soon. They're
Yeah.
trying to change everything all at once. And I just think that that's a recipe for, not being consistent and not developing the habits that you're trying to. I see it all the time. It's like they're, wanting to, like I said, change it all at once. And I'm like, let's dial it back. Let's slow down here. Let's think about your lifestyle and what is really feasible and manageable for you based on the hours that you work, based on your, extracurricular activities, based on you have a family and kids. Let's look at your lifestyle and really break this thing down and try to make these changes work for you. And so it's very individualized. It can't be this cookie cutter approach, because everyone's life and what they're trying to manage is so different.
Yeah, so many people are like, I'm going to work out 6 days a week for 2 hours every day, and
Right.
I'm going to cut 1,000 calorie of deficit every day, and I'm going to try to sleep 10 hours a night when they're
Yes,
sleeping five,
exactly. I'm
uh,
gonna drink a gallon of
and
water every day. Like, okay, I don't even do
I'll
that.
do a 1 hour morning routine of breath work and cold ice bath for an hour, and
Right.
yeah, it's a lot. I feel like what's your thought on this? I feel like the social media world, like as much as I love it because it allows me to serve and have a greater impact, I hate it at the same time. Like I have so many I have devices to block apps on my phone. I close my phone. My phone's open like a few hours a day
Yes.
because I don't like being on it. I want to buy a flip phone, to be honest with you. I just want to go back to flip
Yes.
phone
Flip
days.
phones.
But do you feel that social media has kind of painted this false picture of what living a healthy lifestyle looks, with kind of like the super restrictive dieting, the very specific superfoods that you need to eat, that if you don't eat those, like everything is screwed. The ice bath, the cardio every day, walking 20,000 steps. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I do. I feel like it's information overload, and
Yeah.
if you don't take that information and try to, maybe just implement it a little bit at a time, you just get overwhelmed. And I also, think they make it seem like it's easy, it's quick, it's going to happen fast, and everybody's going to look the same, it's
Yeah.
just not realistic. But I definitely think I'm with you. I have a love hate relationship, with social media because, yes, it's great for my business and all of that. But same as you, I have alerts set up on my phone. I have things where I'm shutting it off, turning it down, and just trying to feed myself in other ways besides scrolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think social media definitely can be a detriment in terms of healthy living and lifestyle for sure.
Yeah, one thing I'll talk about the social media aspect is you also have to look at the person that you're following and what
Mm,
kind of lifestyle that they have, right? So
yes.
I'll just use me as an example, in a good and in a bad way, right? I don't
Hmm.
have kids. I just got married. I live a pretty fucking cool life,
Hmm.
but I built it, but I live a pretty cool life. Like I don't have two kids. I don't have to like go through a job or kind of do all of these things. And so my lifestyle is very different. If I only coached people that had my lifestyle, then yeah, I wouldn't be able to be like, hey, if you're a mom with two kids and work a full-time job and you have your husband, you can train like me. Yeah, you can't, right? The reality is that the schedule is not the same. The level of obligation is not the same. Thankfully for me, I've coached hundreds and hundreds of moms, so I know how to deal with them.
Good, good.
but there's a reality of like the schedule is not the same, the obligation is not the same, the stress level is not the same. Like, so how do you deal with people that are, again, super type A overachievers? They're like, no, I want to train and look like an athlete, but also they work 40 hours a week. They have three kids. They have, the kids have activities. They have to go play
Right.
soccer and hockey and all these things.
Yeah. It's for me. I just I tell them we have to really be realistic. There are four principles that I use and I work with clients. It's this kind of lean concept that I learned from my coaching certification, lifestyle, attitude, nutrition, and then of course eating what your food. But it
Hmm.
really is very much just we have to look at these principles. And you have to be realistic. You have to be realistic with what your lifestyle is and what you really are going to be able to, do and manage. And so even with the type A's, it's like, sometimes it takes a little bit more work. But there's some things I just can't really like budge on it because I just know that you're not going to be successful if you try to cram all of this stuff in. This is what
Yeah.
led you to me. So you know
Yeah.
what I mean. So you have to be willing and open enough to trust me and trust the process, and then we'll tweak it as we go along. But you just got
Yeah.
to just trust me in terms of just getting started and trust the process.
Yeah, and I feel like so many people have been burned with like bad coaching online, like with like cookie cutter shit,
Yes,
and they're just like, "Well, I tried this, but it didn't work. It wasn't made for me." It's just my thought. If you paid $30 for an app, obviously it's not custom for you.
it's not.
But
Absolutely, it's not.
but a good coaching is custom to you. It meets you where you're at, fitness
Absolutely.
wise, health wise, lifestyle wise, schedule wise, stress
Absolutely.
wise.
Definitely. And just, even when I think back to working with my coach, it was very much very individual. Like, I'm Shauné, I'm this person, this is what my story and journey has been. What strategies can we put in place for me?
Yeah. So what are tools and strategies that you would be open to sharing with us? Some of the secrets that you'd be open to sharing with us to kind of help people at least get over the hump of starting? Because I feel like for your story, when you have that initial moment of like, whatever, the heart attack, the diagnosis, the rush to the hospital. I feel
Mhm.
like not everyone, unfortunately, but most people are willing and open to make a change.
Right.
But man, like I want for you to speak to the people that are numb right now.
Mhm.
Like their body has normalized the pain. Maybe the medicine has helped to
Mhm.
normalize the pain. Maybe they're numb from the nutrition, like the salt, the sugars, all that stuff is
Right.
really, it is very numbing. So
Yeah.
what can some of those people look into, or actions that they can take to kind of just like wake up? Like that's a superpower I wish I had, is just get those people to wake up.
Definitely. I would say, thinking back to even like when I started mine and some things that helped me, I know we hear this a lot, but I really do swear by it is really journaling in whatever way that looks like for you. Just taking, just some time just to kind of sit down with your thoughts, whether it's, in an app, whether it's, actual pen and paper, but just
Yeah.
kind of taking the time to do that. I'm a huge, believer in just, practicing gratitude and just, okay, yes, I'm in this situation where my health is not the best. Yes, I'm kind of feeling numb and all of this, but is there something that I'm grateful for? Is there, even if it's the smallest thing, what are those things that I can, start acknowledging? And then even, I have clients just kind of even a lot of times they beat themselves up, right? They're guilty because they've
Yeah.
gotten to this place. And I'll just kind of just have them, self-reflect and just what's something good that you've done? What's, even if you don't think that it's something amazing, you'd be surprised at how the little things that we're able to kind of find, are really some things that starts to kind of shift and change their like outlook and mindset. Like, oh wow, I guess I did do pretty good, or it's just giving those
Yeah.
like little victories, if you will. Even the little small things like, well, I wanted to get in 64 ounces of water today, and I got in 50. Okay, but I only got in 40 the other day. Okay, well look, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
So it's really helping them just kind of look and evaluate. And this is why I say that journaling or even just kind of tracking in some kind of way some of the achievements that you've done so that you start to see the data. You're starting to build the data in terms of being able to look back and say, oh, okay, I am making forward progress, So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the management of expectation is huge for a lot
Yeah.
of people. Yeah, because
Definitely.
if it's like I'm gonna lose 40 pounds by X date and they're down like 38 pounds, they're like, I suck, I failed. I'm like, dude, you're down 38 pounds.
I
This is huge.
know.
It's
Exactly.
it's a huge difference. Yeah, fitness and health, like I've been doing this for a long time at this point,
Mhm.
but it's this, people have this expectation that everything will just happen perfectly.
Right.
Like the weight will just drop
Yep.
and they'll just be able to do the workout, and they'll just be able to change nutrition, and
Yep.
there's not going to be stressors of
That's
life or slip
right.
ups. And it's this funny thing. It's the only area that I found, because if you start a new job,
Hmm.
you're going to get hiccups. There's a
Right.
learning curve. You're going to be
Definitely.
stressed at the beginning. You
Definitely.
learn driving, you start a new relationship, like whatever it may be. But the fitness part and the health part is like one of those things that for some reason the human brain just has this preconceived notion that it's going to be smooth.
Yeah.
Everything's going to go great.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I totally agree. And I'm, always trying to help my clients be realistic in that there will be bumps along the way. There may be some setbacks or missteps along the way. And what are we going to do? We're going to face those head on. We may tweak them, if you will. But we're still going to do what we have to do to make forward progress. I wish I could say, and I'm sure you've probably seen or heard this example that, to get from point A to point B, it's just all linear, right? But no,
Yeah.
not linear. It is just sometimes like this.
Hey, I got the best. It's just like starting a business.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm on
absolutely.
top of the world. Shit, it's
Right.
failing and I'm dying and everything sucks. Oh my God, I'm good. Everything's great.
Very much so. Yeah. So,
Yeah. I had someone I was coaching who's very business oriented. He's
uh,
like, man, this is not going straight. I'm like, it's just like starting a business. Treat it as if you're starting a business. He's like, you got to show up consistently regardless of how you feel, right? You just got to do the work, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
exactly.
But yeah, it's very much a roller coaster
I
for
agree
sure.
with that. That's such a great analogy because I got two businesses, so I can so relate to all of that.
Yeah, it's a unique community of people.
It is.
The business world,
It
yeah.
is.
There's pains and tribulations that most people can't understand or comprehend. They're like, it's great to run your own business.
Right.
Like, man, when you're short some months, you got to pay out of your
Okay.
pocket. Like, ain't that great?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Shauné, where can people learn more about you, the work that you're doing, and ultimately follow you?
Absolutely. They can go to my website, which is theshaunelife.com. It's the same thing on Instagram at the Shauné Life. And, encourage them to kind of, join my newsletter so they can follow along and get all the helpful stuff that I'm trying to use to help other people.
Beautiful. And so for everyone listening, I'm going to put all the links down below, so you can usually just click on it, go to her website, go to her Instagram, and subscribe to her newsletter. Shauné, I would say massive thank you for taking the time. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and I know people are going to get a lot of benefits out of this episode.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed it.